Guys, this business thing is killing it right now. This is so cool. So we just got done with Lindsey Wheeler of High Sierra Legal, highsierralegal.com. And does documents, contracts. I want to say she said she was a paralegal. I'm not good with these words, guys. I'm not good with this, but basically she's your first contact before you contact a lawyer. So if you're getting divorced, wills, trust, contract review, anything, she's somebody you can call to hire without actually having to go to an attorney. I just had so many questions for her. So when you listen to this podcast, I'm going to try to I ask as much as I possibly can on how everything kind of works and what we need to learn and why we need contracts and all that stuff. So hopefully you guys learn a little bit, but I highly recommend having somebody like Lindsey in your back pocket. Just email or call and say, hey, I need this. Do I need a lawyer? Can you help me with this? And you're going to save a significant amount of money, but also you're going to get the correct information. So it was actually a really, really cool conversation. Good comments that kind of came through. So enjoy the podcast, guys. So I should have told you who I was. I'm Jeremy. I own Jeremy Lou Photography. This is Raw Focus. You guys feel free to subscribe. Of course, we're everywhere: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts. I listen on podcasts, a little app on Android and iPhone. That's how I listen to all my podcasts. But please, thank you so much for the support. Follow me, subscribe, share, comment. I don't know how it works yet. I'm a big YouTuber, so we kind of put these on YouTube as well. So everybody's a little different. So thank you guys for the support. We are going to get right into it. So here is Lindsey Wheeler with High Sierra Legal. What's up?
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
How's everything going?
It's going. Website.
You're not in London, right?
No, I just put that on there to keep creepers off.
I was like, oh, she lives in London, but everything's in Reno. So I'm like, how's she doing?
Girl, that's weird. No, girl, that's a weird business model. Yeah, no, it just works out a little bit easier that way.
All the creepers?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been helpful.
Yeah. How's your day going?
It's going. Website not working and the usual business stuff, but
do you host it through somebody, or are they fixing it, or do you have to do it
No,
yourself?
I was redoing it completely and it's just not scrolling right and it's not, tracking right. The usual kind of stuff when you do that.
God. Yeah, like I won't work on my own at all because of that stuff.
Yeah. Do you have Meredith do it for you?
Yeah, I have Courtney and Chris. No. Not my. So my website I actually do through a company called PhotoBiz, and it's cool. A template based. So I drop everything in. I get to customize it. So I spend a lot of time working on it myself. They did Hatches and pretty much everybody else. Alexa, turn off Office Fan. But this one, I just update my pictures so often, and that's always been my goal.
Right.
So that I don't want to have to email somebody. I feel bad doing that, like emailing them all the time and be like, hey, I need you to update my website.
Yeah, that's kind of
picture. Yeah,
I do mine. That's why it's easier control wise, and you have the creative license and the ability to do that. That's why I like it.
Yeah. So Lindsey, I'm going to learn about your business. I actually went onto your website the other day when we booked everything, kind of went through all your stuff and what you offer. And it's insane. Like I had no idea this stuff was even offered.
Yeah.
Without going to a lawyer. I've never had to use a lawyer. So I'm going to do an intro of you in a second. I know, right? I'll do an intro of you in a second. And then I want you to kind of teach me about everything that you do.
Okay.
Also, my camera's right here, but you're right here. So if you see me drifting off and looking, I'm looking at your face.
Okay.
So just ignore that. Usually people do. It's pretty good here. But let me do a little intro. How long have you been in business?
So I have been in the legal field since I was 2020. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, long time ago. I worked, went to law school, was a district court clerk, law clerk for Judge Perry. Worked at the Supreme Court, I worked at the legislature, worked at the Attorney General's office. So I've kind of been all around, and then started my own business in 2012, I think it's been.
Right.
And started from there and built it up, and got it to a point where I'm really happy with it right now. I'm thankful that I right now have it.
So, I mean, are you able, so you're not an attorney, but these documents are like as if an attorney were to have done it?
Right. So the misinformation is that, they always say, oh, you need a lawyer for this. You have to have a lawyer for this. Of course, we're going to tell
Right.
you that. It's job security. We want you to hire us.
Right. Right.
Um, but, in theory, you don't have to have a lawyer for anything. We like you to have it for criminal because that's your freedom. But honestly, you don't have to have a lawyer for anything. You can navigate the legal system. Obviously, it's a little bit skewed in this country to where it is advantageous to have a lawyer for things. But for basic stuff that people do, wills, trusts, divorces, especially divorces in the state, lawyer's not really necessary in a lot of ways.
Right. I mean, we adopted my daughter. She's 13 now. We adopted her like 12 and a half years ago. And I remember to get the emergency temporary guardianship, I did it on my own.
Yep.
Filled out everything. And then to go to court, I just paid this guy $800 to read everything for me and go to court. And then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
That's insane. All right. Hang tight for me real quick here.
Sure.
Cool. Hey guys, welcome back to Raw Focus, and continuing of this small business kind of aspect of the podcast. We're kind of spending the week talking to small businesses, pushing them out a little bit, especially since we're at the tail end. We don't even know if we're at the tail end of our lockdown. We might have another month or so after this. But I'm introducing Lindsey Wheeler of High Sierra Legal, and I know very little about this, and I was kind of talking to her right before we went on here. And I'm doing that on purpose because I am actually really interested, and I have a lot of photographer type questions because I live in a world where photographers don't have documentation. They have nobody to look at their contract. They don't know how to create contracts. And I've actually been looking for somebody to help me educate the photographer world on what we actually need in our contract and how to help us. And especially with this time of everybody postponing and rebooking, and oh my God, are we giving all our money back now because our contract wasn't solid? But Lindsey, thank you so much for tuning in and joining me today. How's it going?
Good. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh God.
Long time listener, first time caller.
All right. I like that. I know. Well, I always feel like I'm first time podcaster, because this isn't my normal world. But yeah, so we have a good 30 minutes here to chat. And what I want to do is I want to tell people what you do, because I feel like your service is one of those things that people don't realize that they can get or need. And they spend hours and hours scouring all over Google to figure out how to get these questions answered, where they really just call you and hire you for 30 minutes an hour just to get those done. So tell me all about your business. What do you got going on?
So it's technically a document preparation business. We're licensed under the Secretary of State, it's not paralegal anymore because you can't be called that. So it's doc prep license. We're licensed, we're bonded, we're insured. Also a notary as well. I'm an e-notary now with all this happening.
You travel too, right? I think that's on your website. You travel for an extra fee.
Yep. Yeah. And typically before all this, would meet people in person. We'd have meetings, kind of normal thing. I kind of do it the old school traditional way where lawyers and doctors used to do house calls. And so I kind of like that personal one-on-one. I don't need a mahogany desk or people having to come to my office. So I like being able to help people out that way. So basically what I do is, it's an alternative to hiring a lawyer, essentially. So we do the document prep for you. I can't give legal advice. I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do, which I prefer. I like you to make those decisions. I want you to be informed to make decisions for your life and your documents. I don't want, some lawyer being like, well, you should do this and you need to do that. And it's like, well, you're educated enough. You can make that decision.
Right.
So I facilitate basically the document preparation of things that you want. I do typically wills, trust, divorces, custody. I do have an MBA and my undergrad in business, so I'm a little bit more business savvy, I think, than a lot. So I like getting small businesses set up as well.
Right.
Getting their
Is that your target? Going. Is that your goal with small businesses, or where are your clients coming from?
My clients are pretty much everywhere, which is nice. So in Nevada, divorce is relatively easy and straightforward process here. So I like doing those. They're easy for people. You don't want to be together? No problem. We'll make that happen. There's no waiting. Yeah, minimal waiting periods and things like that. So we like to facilitate that in this state. And I like it for me because it is so straightforward. There really isn't a reason to hire a lawyer unless you have a ton of assets, you're really bickering, you have to go to litigation, you're really fighting it out. Most people don't need that. They don't need to pay a lawyer thousands of dollars to just separate. So that's one of my aspects. Another aspect is I love doing wills and trusts because those get people set up for the long run. They basically help their children and their heirs not have to go through probate. So so many
people do not have that at all.
Yeah. And right now
It's
it's
crazy.
important. Yeah, especially right now it's a little scary. We don't know what's happening in the world. It's kind of nice to have all those things set up for yourself. It always kind of blows my mind when we see celebrities who don't have any of those things set up, like Prince, for
Oh
instance,
my God, yeah. Well, because like they don't. I mean, everybody's young, right? They don't think about it, and I mean, me personally, like I always feel like once I'm dead, I'm dead. But then also,
Right.
I have a family, so like, where does my money
Yeah.
go? What happens with that? And
Yeah.
now I'm thinking of that end. So, I don't have one. I did a trade with a law group a few years back, and I have a amazing credit with them. And I
Yeah.
have to get them to do it. But
Awesome.
that's one of the things that we traded for. And I was like, oh, I'm super excited. And, I was like 5 years in the game of photography.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you do a lot of stuff. I went to your website, which is it highsierralegal.com?
Correct.
Cool. Highsierralegal.com. And basically, Lindsay has a list of services that she can do. And I'm sure anything that's not there, she can do as well, as long as it's within your field. But basically you have like even contract reviews that you can do by the hour, you charge by the hour, which is amazing. So if
Yeah.
I wanted to put a contract together and I wanted that attorney feel vibe to make sure that I'm protected, especially now in this time. And in my industry, people are canceling, postponing, they're asking for money back. And really you want to look back at the contract and go, I'd love to, but this is our contract. The same as I wouldn't
Right.
do something for you.
Right.
I know I'm going to talk to you about getting you into some of these groups so you can just talk to people and be like, because I know so many of us just make our own contracts and we're like, no, our contract is good. Like it's totally good, but nobody's ever
Yeah.
talked to a lawyer about it. Can you just kind of name off everything that you can think of that you do? Like what are people needing from you that they might not think they need?
So the obvious, so divorces, wills, trust, I do custody motions, step parent adoption, contract review. I do contracts. I do non-disclosure agreements. I love those.
Yeah.
I like people being, creative but protecting their creativity and not being like, well, somebody stole my idea, so
Right.
those
Right.
are a fun contract to have. Yeah, you kind of name it. Like you said, I do probates. I do pretty much anything within my purview that I can. Like I said, I can't give legal advice. I can't represent, but I can definitely educate. And that's what I
Right.
like to do more than anything.
Now, are you seeing, have you worked with any photographers in the past?
Chris Cornell is one of my really good friends.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thinking of Chris's contract, I mean, was there anything in there that, let's say you added or that maybe Chris didn't think about, that you can think about?
Yeah, a lot of it was back in, the 90s and stuff when he was shooting for all the snowboard companies that were coming
Yeah.
up. I remember one we had to really kind of get into with Airwalk. They decided, well, we just want to pay you anymore.
Oh my God, Airwalk.
Yeah.
That just brought back memories. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
they're gone.
Flashback. That ages us
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like that. It's basically, I always tell people when you write a contract, it should be to where a fourth grader can read it. Because that's typically, how the
I
level of
agree.
people are looking at,
Yeah.
if you have to bring this in front of a judge or a law clerk that they're going to look at this initially, can they follow exactly what is saying there? Can they follow the steps? Can they follow the parameters?
Mm-hmm.
To where a fourth grader could look at it and go, yep, that makes sense.
So you're saying that when I send out a contract to a client, I don't have to make it sound all lawyery where they have to call me and highlight everything and be like, can you explain what this means? Can you explain what this means? And I sit there and go, holy crap, no, I
don't
mean,
even
here's
know.
what I think. Yeah. Like you can totally print these images I'm giving you. Like, I don't know why it says that. I
Right.
think that's the biggest thing. Cause yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to send out, I don't want to have to confirm everything. I do my contracts written in a way that, and it's been a while, I need to update it, but it's written in a way that like, I understand it. So hopefully when somebody reads it, so it helps out a ton. I had an issue with Jiffy Lube a few years back when they stole one of my images. They actually got it from a client,
Oh.
that I shot for Make-A-Wish. And it was actually her daughter's dying wish, to have a photo shoot and a room remodel, kind of like when the home edition house thing was going on. And they ended up using that image that I gave her, and she had no idea, so it wasn't her fault, but I had to go after Jiffy Lube. And I basically just gave up because Jiffy Lube kept saying that I'm taking away from Make-A-Wish, but they made $284,000 off that one image selling coupon books. And it was one of those things where like my contract, I remember I was just like, I didn't even plan for anything like this. And I don't even know if I have now. So you're in the Reno area.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure that you do this. Do you do this remotely? I assume so. You basically do this for anybody in the world.
In theory, yeah,
Okay.
I do. I do things for people in California because we're on the border. But I've been trained with more Nevada centric law. if you
Oh,
will.
that makes sense. Right.
Yeah. And so it's all individual for each state, but again, you can do your own thing. So I know how to research and do the legal research and writing. And so I can kind of finagle other states, which I've done some stuff with through probate in other states. But typically, yeah, my kind of thing is like, I like to be the legal Zoom for Nevada. I want to
Ooh.
have the accessibility for our people here. I'm born and raised here. I appreciate Nevada. I love our state. I think
Mhm.
it's a fantastic state comparatively to all the other states.
I agree. Same here.
And our forefathers were fantastic in setting up how our statutes and our laws work. That they got that one right, and so it makes things nice.
Right. So then, is it safe to say that your business is like a local version of LegalZoom? Because I've never used LegalZoom. I've
Yeah,
heard of it, but I have no idea what it is.
yeah, and I appreciate LegalZoom for the accessibility for people, but because it is
But there's no
national,
personal.
it's so generic. They
It's
have to
that
have it.
shop local thing still,
Yep,
right? I
so
mean,
generic. And so I know what we need in Nevada. So I know what contracts are available here. I know what laws are available here. I know how we like things set up and how we do things in the state. And so I think it's more of a state-centric personal touch, honestly.
right. I mean, I didn't think I would get excited about like legal stuff. So and
Nobody
here's
does.
my here's my thing. Like, I am a very big pusher of doing things right, but I'm also a big pusher of paying people to do those things. For instance, like if my landscapes, I'm gonna pay a landscaper. I'm not the guy that's gonna do everything. And so I got to tell you, like over the last 2 months, we've talked so much about contracts. I'm part of like Weddings of the West, Northern Nevada Bridal Association, and YouTube and vlogging and all that stuff. And people are always asking me, Jeremy, where did you get your contract? Can you look over my contract? And obviously, no, I cannot. But like, we have no resources other than say, go hire an attorney and have them look at it. Would you be willing to come to one of these events with like just wedding vendors and then just kind of do like a workshop or something?
Yeah, love that.
That I would hire. Yeah. So I'll kind of come up with, and side talking during this right now, but we'll come up with the pricing. We'll come up with all that, and we'll have everybody pay for it. That way we'll come and do a workshop on what to expect, what we need. For instance, stuff like us is like, I have a nourishment clause in mind that they have to feed me after a certain amount of time, and acts of God and all that stuff.
Yep.
Tell me about the client base that you want. What is your typical client like, or what is your ideal client? Who's going to use you?
My ideal client is basically normal people like us. We have a little bit of assets. We normally have a house, we have a car, we have some kids, we have, a business, those people. Obviously the people with more means are able to have an attorney on retainer.
Right.
A lot of my
But I
clients.
mean, even if they can afford an attorney, sometimes people just don't need an attorney for stuff like this, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, a lot of it is just being educated, just learning. Like I said, I tell people I'm kind of your tour guide of this country, if you will. I know the
Right.
language, I know the route of the map, I know where we're going. I'm going to take you on this tour so you learn how the language works,
Right.
where we're going, what the sites are, if you will. I like people to be educated and empowered instead of feeling unempowered in that, oh, I have to hire a lawyer. It's going to be thousands of dollars.
It's scary. I mean, I
Yeah.
talked to a lawyer when I was leaving one of my businesses because the landlord changed his mind last minute.
Mhm.
And just to talk to the dude, he's like, I'll talk to you, but anything over 5 minutes, I'm gonna have to charge you a $1,500 retainer.
Yep.
And I'm like, bro, like, what information are you gonna give me? Like, I'll pay for it if it's gonna work. But like, yeah, it was nothing. So 4 minutes, I was like, cool, I'm out, and I just like left.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
I like there is so much information now that is available. Right now they have a lot of the electronic libraries available. It's just like I said, learning how
right.
to access this knowledge that we have at our fingertips. And that's kind of what I like to facilitate as well. I want people to be educated. If I can help you and you don't have to hire me, that makes me feel good too. Like you have been
Right.
able to feel empowered enough to be able to do that. And so that's kind of my thing. A lot of my clients too are like, what am I supposed to do? I don't have this kind of money for an attorney, but I have to
Who
access the
does? I
court.
mean, Jesus, like I don't. If somebody wants to sue me now, I'm like, I have insurance and stuff, but
Yeah.
you're gonna win because I'm not gonna
Right.
um so I'm kind of at your website now. I'm kind of looking through everything. And hopefully this is a trick question.
Sure.
Who needs contracts?
Everyone.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And I say that all the time. So I watch a lot of like, I haven't in a while, but People's Court, Judge Judy, when that was a big thing. I remember spending every day on CBS just watching all that. And it was always like, I remember Judge Million always said something to the effect of, it can be a napkin, it can be a piece of toilet paper, just get your minds together. It's a meeting of the minds to
Yep.
contract so that you know what you get for what you get.
Yep.
And a lot of people just don't do that. Um, what happens? Can you do anything for anybody that say that doesn't have a contract and something happens, or is that more of the lawyer side?
I can help them get started. Typically what I do is I can get the initial documents going for them, like a complaint in court, small claims complaint, and kind of get them going. At that point, and depending on the complexity of it and who they're suing, I oftentimes will hand them off to an attorney at that point, but
Okay.
I definitely save them some money and getting it going for them.
Do you have attorneys that you work with, and vice versa? Do attorneys ever send people just to you? I mean, I know they're losing money that way, but like,
Not typically, because lawyers don't want to give up
right?
that.
I
They
know they're
think
like,
they know best. But I do refer to some, and actually I do. Austin Sweet over at Gunderson is a
Mhm.
phenomenal employment contract attorney. That firm specializes in that. So oftentimes if it is out of my realm, if you will, or it's more
Right.
complex and I feel like they really need some representation, I will absolutely refer them over there. And Austin does a fantastic job. He is very skilled in what he does over there.
So would you
Um,
say it's safe to say that if anybody has any type of issues or anything going on contract rise where they feel like they say the word attorney in their head, would it be cool just for me to refer them to you and then let
sure.
you kind of either, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
absolutely. I can vet
That's
them
what I
out,
need.
or like I said, give them the knowledge. And if I'm like, I can help you with this, this is pretty simple. This is all you kind of really need.
Right.
Up to you what you think, but this is kind of here are your options. Or there's some times where I'm looking at, I'm like, oh no way, you need absolutely somebody who's got some skillage to look at
Right.
this.
But then you can refer them out. And that's
Mhm.
ultimately what I want. Like, I'm
Yep.
the same way. Like if I can't do something, I'm going to refer it out. My whole world is community over competition.
Yep.
I know that's different in the lawyer attorney side of it, because like we just said, they got to make that money.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything that you specialize in, that you feel like you just kind of know and that's your focus within everything that you do?
I don't know. I like everything, you know what I mean? I've kind of got my hands on a lot of things. I definitely like trusts, because I
Right.
like people being set up. I love prenups. Those are my favorite too.
We want prenups.
Yeah.
Do a lot of
But I
people
like
do prenups?
not enough.
I know,
Definitely
right?
not
I
enough.
mean, we've been married for 12 years ish. I can't
Mhm.
remember, 11, 12 years, something like that. We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
But like we
Yeah.
didn't have money when we got married. So, I mean, yeah, that's the myth, right? It's just prenups. If you don't have money when you get married, you still need to do one?
Yeah. Because you have future earnings, you have business, things that you may have, children in the future.
Right.
It's a good analogy of it. One of the entrepreneurs I like to follow is Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you know him. He's one of my
Uh,
favorite. I'll Teach You to Be Rich is his thing. It's a terrible name, but it's a good. What he does is great. But he
is
talked
it
about
great?
he was on Tim Ferriss and he talked about um, his process of getting married and getting a prenup. And he was like, we don't need this, kind of, but we do because he's an entrepreneur and she, disparity in income. But
Right.
he had a good analogy of it is that they give you the safety flight spiel. We don't anticipate the plane going down, but we're going to
Right.
make sure that you're prepared.
I agree. I mean, yeah,
So,
it's one of those things where, and I mean, I don't know. I always feel like do prenups, and I think the reason people don't do prenups is because they feel like they're anticipating that
hmm,
divorce in the future
yeah, you're
or
dooming the relationship.
separation. Right. But 50%, I don't know what I've always said 50% is divorce. I don't know what the actual rate is now. One interesting thing here is name change. I
Hmm.
was just on here with Justin Impossible
Yeah, yeah,
yesterday,
he was fun.
and that's not his real name. But how hard is it to actually change your name, and what are the rules on that? Can people do like anything?
Pretty much, yeah. As long as it's not for a felonious purpose, you're not doing it to get out of creditors or to swindle anybody.
Oh,
That kind of thing. You have to publish it in the
right.
newspaper that you're intending on changing your name, but the courts are like, you want to be whatever you want,
Yeah.
Rick and Morty Smith, cool.
How much does something like that cost to change your name?
I charge 550 for those, and the court charges 260, and the publishing fee I think is around 125.
So under $1,000, I can have a whole new name.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't know.
birth
I don't know what
certificate
it would be,
change,
but
Social Security, all of it.
yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of it is for women who changed their name or didn't change their name in their divorce decree, and they want their name back.
Oh, right,
That oftentimes, or a misspelling. A lot of the times, I have a lot of misspellings on birth certificates versus DMV. So a lot of older folk have to get their name changed because there was a typo on their birth certificate, or their mother called them something different their whole life.
right. And they want to match it up.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I feel like that shouldn't be like, that should just be like, hey, no, this is how my name
Yeah.
is. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Obviously, she was drunk and she didn't mean to put the P instead of the R.
Yeah.
Uh,
She just had a baby. Leave her alone.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's messed up my whole thing. So this is also, you also do stuff for like, it says lease agreements. So basically maybe
Mhm.
that you're not using a property manager for your home to lease out your
Uh-huh.
home,
Yep.
or rent out your home, then you can
Mhm.
have something kind of created for that, which I think is huge because well, before we bought our house, we rented from a guy, and we're good people. He was good people. Luckily, it worked out. But his
Yeah.
contract was like a one pager, like, hey, you're paying $1,200 a month. That's it. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, sign it. That's freaking cool. So I am obviously on the photography side. We don't. There's a photographer out there calling herself the Law Tog. Tog is short for photographer,
Mhm.
and she actually, went over through my videos and tried to get a bunch of my videos taken down. I wasn't talking about law, but I don't know what's going on. Um, do you find that photographers, self-employment, those people could use a service like you more than the larger corporations?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Because we are small businesses. We're all trying to work together. Like you said, I'm like with you. I want everybody to succeed because we all succeed. It's awesome.
Right.
And I think that accessibility for those contracts for these people to protect their businesses. This is our livelihood, as we're knowing right now with everything shut down. Like, we're struggling. This is all of
Yeah.
our livelihood. We're all in the same boat, working for ourselves and taking that leap. We should have the accessibility and the resources as any other corporation because we are our own corporation.
Right.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely like having that.
I feel like, people that don't, I don't know. It's just mind boggling to me because, business is my world, and stuff like this, I think people just need to have. Like, I'll
Hmm.
never book a shoot without a contract. And sometimes people get mad that I send contracts. Like, bro, you know me, like we're buddies. And I'm like, that's why
Yep.
we're doing a
Nope.
contract. So just to
Yep.
make sure. I had a follow-up question, but I forgot it because that's what I do because I'm reading at the same time. Where is this a passion for you, or is this something you fell into?
It's pretty much been my whole life, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of, started working out for a local attorney here, a big defense attorney, when I was, I think, 2021, and just really like it. I like the law aspect of it. I like the constitutionality of it. I like how things progress and how it should, in theory, be equal. Like, we have, in theory, a good justice system.
Right.
In practice, does it work? No, obviously. Minorities and different, poor people are disenfranchised by it. Absolutely.
Right.
But in theory and practice, it should work. And I like the ability that anybody can go to court. Like I
Right.
said, anybody can access the law. In theory is how it should be.
And well, yeah, and I think history has kind of taught us that none of us feel that way.
Yeah.
And like if I get a DUI or something and I try to go to court by myself, if I get a ticket, I try to
Yeah.
go to court by myself. I'm getting reamed
Yeah.
by the defense attorney or the public defender or whatever's
Hmm.
going on, and super scary. Jared Argini, who was just on this podcast right before you, says I'm interested in talking with her for my contract. So he's a DJ.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So you can comment back onto this. Jared, her information's up there, of course. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I
I
love it.
I'm gonna get you in front of other people. I'm interested in picking your brain a little bit more later on. But can you just give us a 2-minute spiel on how people can find you, the best way to contact you, your client base, like anything that you want? You're just gonna kind of ramble about yourself for a second here.
Yeah, absolutely. So through the website is usually the best way. I always have people can text me as well. That's fast too. Email. So highsierralegal.com is a good way of getting a holding of me. I haven't been really active on my Facebook so much. I need to get back on that. Lots of projects now with all this time we have.
Right.
As you can see, my website is having issues right now because I just tried to
It was
revamp it.
good.
Okay, cool.
I
That
didn't see
makes you feel
anything.
better. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that again. Yeah, small businesses doing it all ourselves.
Oh my God, yeah.
I should call Design on Edge and be like, hey guys, just fix this for me.
Make it all new. I know one thing I did notice, your website is you have some stock photography, and I always look at people's websites and I'm like, that's not like a real photo.
Yeah.
I'm like, we could just redo it all and then put you everywhere, you doing stuff. But no,
Yeah.
it's a way to kind of build.
Yeah. And I was going to reach out to you on that too eventually, and
Yeah.
getting those ideas as well. So Yeah,
Yeah, make it
absolutely.
more personal. I mean, I
Mhm.
feel like business like yours, that personal aspect needs to be there. So,
Yep.
not like you don't have some of that, but like,
Yeah.
adjusting your headshot, adjusting your business, adjusting everything. We're like, oh, this is in Reno. This was at a coffee shop. You had a
Yep.
laptop working, stuff like that.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
just easy
Exactly.
peasy stuff.
Yep.
So we have the website. Of
Uh,
course, they can contact you here. I would assume everybody push through the website. That might be easier. Obviously, we're all busy, so sending emails. You have a chat option on your website as
uh,
well,
yep.
which is unique. Are you on Instagram? Are you part of any BNIs? How do you get your business out there?
Yeah, and that's what I'm working on too. We've all been kind of busy before this, and now we've had a little downtime to kind of focus on that, and that's been kind of my main goal right now is getting things more business centric at this point.
Very cool.
So yeah, I have my personal Instagram on there, but yeah, I need to getting more business stuff going,
Cool.
if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
all, it's all in the
I think
works.
the website's enough. I'm just trying to give people
Yeah.
avenues.
No,
So
absolutely. And you're right. I need to do those avenues. Like I said, it's in the
sometimes
book.
it's too much. Sometimes it's like, even like I was talking to Jared about TikTok. Like, I use TikTok for business
Uh-huh.
photography stuff. I mean, you can get on TikTok if you're not on there already and
Yeah.
just do like cute little things based off contracts or leases or
Yep.
whatever, and then people are like, oh my god, and that's really how we have to be creative with
Yeah.
everything in the small business world.
That's the Gary Vaynerchuk method.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's who's Gary Vaynerchuk?
Oh, he's an amazing entrepreneurial guy as well. You should follow him. He's super fun.
I know Tim Ferriss. When you said
Yeah.
Ferriss,
hmm
yeah.
they're all like him, Ramit Sethi, Gary Vaynerchuk, and
Are you doing podcasts? Are you focusing on podcasts or what? Or how are you
I
finding
haven't
them?
on that avenue. I was just trying to get the website going, and then, like you said, being more active on the social media route,
Right.
if you will, and getting my face out there that way, and joining more groups.
Awesome.
So
And I
yeah,
think you said this already, but I forgot. How long have you been doing this?
just
The High Sierra
21,
Legal.
21 years altogether, and then High Sierra Legal since 2012.
Okay, so that's still, I mean, that's still a
Mhm.
crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you have to educate yourself all the time, so you're on the loop with everything.
hmm
And let me just go through, we'll kind of end this with this process. I'm a photographer, I'm a small business owner. If I wanted you to either create a contract or go through a contract,
hmm
how does that process work and how long does it usually take?
I'm pretty quick. I'm quicker than most, I think, attorneys and most people who do this. So basically, you'll reach out to me. I'll get contacted by you either through an email, contact on my website, through the
Right,
contact, or I'll get a text or call from you. We kind of sit down and see exactly what kind of your goals are, what you're looking for, get your input on it, because I want you to make those decisions, and then I can
right,
formulate from there what you've told me, what you need, and then we review everything. I get a draft to you. You go over it. You make sure everything is good for you, that you understand it, that it is fulfilling all the needs that you require. And then usually it's pretty much at that point good. I hand it over to you. You use it repetitively, however
right.
you need. hmm
And then, is there a way for them to like contact you and be like, hey, I forgot this, I modified this?
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's cool. That works.
Yeah. Typically we do amendments, or we do changes, or we do law revisions, or we go over it at least a year. I like people to review their contracts at least once a year,
Okay.
just to kind of see if they're still working for their business. Has their business model changed? Has their ideas changed? To make sure that still is a good fit.
Right. And then do you have, and it's okay if you say no to this, I know I'm pushing all this stuff on you. Do you have like a newsletter that goes out already, or is that something that'll be in the process? As
That's
I'd
in the
love to
process.
join something like that.
I had a blog that I was working on consistently, and then of course
Mhm.
those always fall to the wayside when life gets busy. So
Blogs are hard, man. I hate
yeah, they
sitting and
are hard.
typing. That's why I do video stuff where I can just ramble for 10 minutes
Yeah,
rather than like think about the type.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's super smart. Last thing, what are some misconceptions about contracts, documents, or anything like that you see a lot of? If you can think of anything that people assume and they're usually wrong about.
I think the big misconception, like you said, is that I have to hire the top of the law firms to have these contracts done. That I'm a small business. I need to have a lawyer look over all this. Contracts are simple, like you said. It's a meeting of the minds. It's the four corners that we are now putting forth our relationship. It's a business
Mhm.
relationship, and we're putting down our rule book for our relationship and how that's going to work together.
Right.
And so again, like I said, as a fourth grader, we're entering in a contract that a fourth grader could look at it, read it, and go, "Yep, that makes sense." There's no questions about it. There's no ambiguities.
Big
That
words, yeah.
yeah. I like the thing of like, what is it? Tall fences make good neighbors.
Right.
Well,
Right.
contracts make good business partners because we're all on the same page.
I mean, yeah, there's meeting minds for everything, right? When you get
Mhm.
married, there's a
Yep.
contract, and I mean
Yep.
that's really all it is. And Lindsey, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Please stay on the line, everybody. If you guys are here right now, feel free to watch the entire video. Her information's in the comments and the description of this thing as well. But I want to thank you guys so much. Lindsey, say goodbye to Facebook.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Awesome. How was it? How'd that go?
Cool. That was awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I think it's super valuable. And like I said, I'm part of Weddings of the West, North Nevada Bridal Association. We have like monthly meetings, and with one of them, we're actually doing a Zoom every like 10 days. So I might get you on as a guest.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot of PPA stuff, and ultimately the guests will just kind of push you out there. But ultimately what I would like to do, and we've kind of talked about, is bringing you in and maybe offering like a workshop, like a 2-hour workshop on things that we need, things that how to set it up, the wording and all that stuff. Because a lot of people have contracts, but we're trying to add stuff like the nourishment clause, the act of God. What if something happens here? What if they don't get married? What if they both sign the contract and they both contact you separate, like stuff like that. So maybe you've seen in small businesses, and we'll obviously give you some time to set that up. But I think that'd be cool. If you can, will you just maybe kind of message me like a pricing for like a 2-hour workshop if you can come to that?
Sure. Yeah.
And that way I can kind of push it out to them. And, if we have, 20 members or something come. And of course, on top of that, you're going to push out your business and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to keep it separate. Obviously, we want to pay you for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. That was awesome. I'm glad you're doing this.
Yeah, no, thank you. And if you ever need anything podcast wise, obviously photography separate, but like if there's something you want to push, if you have some knowledge that we don't know about, especially PPA, unemployment, all that stuff, just let me know and we'll just get you on, and then we can just kind of push you through our networks. What do you got going on the rest of the day?
Yeah, fixing that website.
Right. Like I said, it wasn't, I don't know if it hasn't hit me yet, but everything I clicked on, it took me right to it. So scrolling was fine. Everything was working.
It didn't compress the images and the fonts.
Try it from a different computer or even your mobile.
And
see how it's reacting to that.
Yeah, because on the mobile it did it, or my phone it just squished it and it like just compressed the text over each other. And I was like, oh, what is happening?
It might be a mobile thing. Do you have different browsers on your mobile?
Yeah, I was gonna flip over and see what different ones, and look at the iPad and see if it changes that way.
Yeah, because sometimes Safari's crap. So even if you get Chrome on your iPhone or Chrome on your iPad, it might look different, but the website's fine.
Okay, cool.
The website's fine.
Okay, good. That makes me feel better.
Dude. All right. Well, you can end the meeting whenever you want, but I totally appreciate you doing this. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's good to see you. All right, take care.